little bit man fluey. It's not as cold tonight as it was last night, the night before, so I'm grateful for that. Imagine being somewhere where trudging through the snow at night, doing these live things. I think that would be quite cool, actually. I was doing documentaries at one point in my life, and we have some snow on some of the mountains. Hello. Who's that there? Christy. Hello, Christy. Christy. Hello. Christy was first. I think we have to have a competition every night. And if you think you're the first comment, then you type first. Which is childish but fun. I like childlike. It's more childlike than childish. Going to be a nice topic tonight. Shield of faith. Again, 77 days of faith. So we're looking at all of these subjects through the lens of faith. And I chose groups of things that are familiar. Like the fruit of the Spirit. Now it's the armor of God. Gifts of the Spirit, fivefold ministry, the Beatitudes, all sorts of things that are familiar, because they're great for memory hooks, so that you can constantly have a reference in your subconscious to go back and hook onto these practical principles. And look at everything through the lens of the entire context of the Bible. It's so important. Hey, there's Mrs. Funk. Hey. I just saw Mrs. Funk now. Henny says unfair. Signal taking too long to reach Namibia. Henny the legend. I'm keen for like a big shindig on the 25th, man. September. Because it's like, it's the end of my 10th year. Beginning of my 7th year. So we have to have a shindig worthy of people flying all the way out from Namibia to come and celebrate. Because so many of you made this possible, not just the vision with little financial contributions and big financial contributions, but also just the incredible emotional and spiritual support. Before I start the wisdom session, I made this covenant that I would stay on one piece of property for 17 years from the 25th of September 2016 until 25th of September 2033, which interestingly is a Harvard 16th birthday, I think, or a 15th birthday, something like that. And although she's on the 12th, but she will be the right age to travel by then in a ministerial capacity, and her friends. And we didn't know what the fruit of this incredible vision was going to be, and we've got such a massive influence on that age group. So we were told to focus on anybody that was born from the 25th of September going forward. Anybody before that was called to serve and train, raise, and take responsibility for, anybody who was born after that time. So it's incredible. We'll have all these youngsters in their thousands by then, ready to rock and roll and travel and spread a culture. And our culture is one of selfless generosity, righteousness. Everybody here takes care of, feeds, helps the poor. That's like just how everyone thinks. It's normal, which is incredible. When I speak to, let's call it normal ministers, or they come and visit and they see what we're up to here. I focus on the poor. It's like shocking for them because it's almost unimaginable. How the heck do you do what you do? And the answer is you make a covenant. A covenant is an agreement with two sides, and you just lock in. And I'm thankful to God. Number one, I do have the ability to lock in. If I say I'm going to do something every day for 77 days or 1,000 days, I figure out how. So that's number one, that I've got that ability. And number two, that God just consistently surrounds me with people who make it possible. Because there's some people who are, they're present in your life and they make difficult commitments easy. And sometimes God will send them, look at this crazy dog in the water in winter. Utter nutter. Hey, Cade, you crazy, man. But I mean, Lily was the same. They're both crazy. Hey, Cade, you crazy, man. Now he's going to come sprinting past me and shake off on me. Because, of course he is. He shook behind me. Hey. So, hey Vanessa, Gunther. There's Aimer, Sheshi, Vanessa Key. All right. So, I'm very grateful. So tonight we're going to talk about the shield of faith. And it's so cool, we're doing 77 days of faith, we're making a game, and here's a nice shield. And so in Ephesians it says that you must take up the shield of faith, and then its purpose is to quench the fiery darts. These burning darts, from the evil one. Now, what the heck is a fiery dart? Well, it's not a literal flaming arrow arcing through the sky to pierce you. It's 2026, and I'm sure those activities exist somewhere on this earth, but mostly no, they don't really exist. You don't mostly have fiery arrows arcing through the sky, and you've got to take up a literal shield. So what the fiery arrows is Ephesians talking about? Well, it comes from the enemy. And those fiery arrows, sorry, I'm going to talk to you in the dark for a second. So I have something in my shoe. Those fiery arrows are whatever the enemy launches at you. And in this case, it is stuff that is sent to weaken you and destroy you. So we know that the enemy comes to kill and steal and destroy, and we know his nature. So by nature, the devil is a malignant narcissist, which means every demon is a is discipled. So they're like kids that grow up with highly abusive parents, or they have some kind of Stockholm syndrome where they've fallen in love with their master. They've just got the nature of that person and they resonate with him. And not only the demons, but also sorry, just trying to tie my shoelaces, so I need both my hands. But also the people who resonate with the nature of Satan, operate at his frequency, will tend to launch fiery darts. They can't help themselves. They say terrible things about you, terrible things to you, and whenever those things come around, they attack your reputation, they attack your spirit, your soul. It's just this continuous bombarding of insinuations, aspersions. They're casting aspersions in your direction. It's like when an aspersion is when it's presented in such a way that it doesn't seem to be a direct insult, but it's got this passive aggressive barb to it. It's like, I'm not saying you're a thief, but someone is stealing you and it's not me, and there's only two of us in the room. That's an aspersion. And because they are full of the spirit of Satan, most people don't realize it because they get raised in that world where they will tell you need to grow a thicker skin when they're the ones that are insulting you. They're the ones who, Proverbs, it says, just watch out for the guy who insults you and says, I'm only joking. He calls you fat or stupid or whatever. And when you let him know that it hurt, or you let her know that it hurt, they say, just grow a thicker skin. And some very good and kind-hearted people who do those things, because they are raised in a world that is governed by a narcissist. So people say, no, God rules the world. God does not rule the world. Paul the Apostle, after the outpouring of the Holy Spirit, after the resurrected Christ, says the God of this world has corrupted the minds of unbelievers. So Satan is the God of this world. God is not the God of this world. It's the God of the universe, sure. But this particular patch of dirt over here, I think if there are beings and stuff on other planets, I sometimes wonder, do they have false gods? Were they planted there for different kinds of relationships and journeys with God? I don't want to go into too much depth there. It's not a theology that I hold on to dogmatically. It's just a strange thing I wonder about often. But this world, our actual God's name is Lucifer. And our job is to build a kingdom under his nose, like Israel had to build a kingdom under the nose of the pharaohs. And whoever enslaved them different points in history, that's what the purpose of the tithe was to have their own tax in their own kingdom inside somebody else's kingdom. And we, who are sent to this world, we're not of this world, we're just passing through it. We're constantly at the mercy of those who walk and talk and speak and do things like the God of this world. So there's something I want you to write down and say, I am just passing through. This is not where I live. It's I'm just passing through. So we are aliens, says Paul the Apostle. Aliens in a strange land. We're not of this world, because the God of this world has his children, and they act in a particular way, and they fire these darts at each other non-stop, and they fire the darts at you, and the air is just full of these darts that are designed to steal and kill and destroy and bring utter misery. And people say, why would someone just exist to bring utter misery? Then you just go into the science of narcissism, and you have a look at how some human beings, let alone spiritual entities, only feel strong when they're in control and when they're proven right in their assumptions, in their paranoia. There's no joy in them other than the little spurts of serotonin they get from time to time when they are when they are right about the terrible things that they suspect. And so the devil is called the accuser of the brethren. And that accusation and the twisting of words and the aspersions comes because of that inherent narcissism in his nature. And his servants might not be narcissists, but until you submit to the Lordship of Jesus Christ and allow the Holy Spirit to come in and change you to a place where you're able to exhibit the fruit of the Spirit, you exhibit narcissistic traits. And so we're in a world where people, without realizing it, because of cultural programming, because of the power of the air. Remember, the power of the air is the dominating ideology. So the devil is also called the prince of the power of the air, the principality of the power of the air of the whole earth. And his dominating ideology is anything that gives an excuse to put you to death. So you'll know that there are religions, and so if you take things like communism, Marxism, Islam, much of Hinduism, present themselves as angels of light. So they pretend to be religions of peace until you disagree with them. And you find that, under Marxism, they killed like almost 90 million people, and even under something as peaceful as Buddhism. And then the enemy thought, how can I do that in Christianity? And then he had Catholicism weaponized into a structurally narcissistic ecosystem where the justified the slaughter of millions of Protestants. So those were people who didn't agree with them. And how do you know you're dealing with narcissists? Well, it's either you appease them or you provoke them. You don't have any other options in relationships with narcissists. It's either praise and appease or provoke. And we live in a world where the God of this world operates in malignant narcissism. And so you mustn't be surprised when you find the habits of this world slipping out of you from time to time, because it's where you are. You're passing through, but the dominating ideology, the power of the air, is one of fiery darts. And in this world, you answer fire with fire, dog eat dog. That's why Jesus refers to unbelievers as nephesh, a dog-like state where you are completely driven by self-preservation instinct. My kibble, my pack, my territory. And so we exist in a world where, exist in a world where that's normal. If you want to be very successful, the more vicious you are, the more successful you will be. The more like a dog you are. Build a pack and make sure that you're always first to the kibble, to the dog food. So you must be strong enough to stop any other dogs getting to that dog food before you get there, even though there's enough dog food for all the dogs. And make sure that you guard your territory viciously. So that's the nature of this world. It's the nature of the God of this world is produced that nephesh sensibility, which means within every human being is this justified self-righteousness that says, well, they shouldn't have provoked me. Just remember, with a narcissist, you either praise them, appease them, or provoke them. And so Jesus, completely opposite to the nature of Satan, came and he didn't return fire. He just quenched sin. He was like fiery arrows hitting water. That's what happens when you're baptized. You are the fiery arrow hitting that water, and everything in you that used to light the words that come out of you was quenched, because you have now put on the nature of Christ, and you are now a walking, living, breathing, fire-quenching machine. So when you pick up the shield of faith, arrows don't bounce off your shield. They don't go pink, pink, ponk, ponk, pink, pink. They go tss. They just die. It just dies when they hit the shield of faith, because you've got enough faith to believe that God can take all things and turn it to good, that the enemy can put you in the fire like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, can put you in the lion's den like Daniel. He can put you in in the most precarious, terrible position, and God will just take the teeth out of the situation, take a burn out of the situation. But if you believe, only believe, only believe. Do not fear, only believe. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love and power and a sound mind. We're completely different to everything and everybody else on this earth. When you go through terrible trials, things that are against your control, so I think 3.5 years or so, almost 4 years now, I'm not sure, ago, we had to let literally all of our staff go. It was also a seasonal change, and the vast majority of folks who were there weren't there for the vision. They were there for the salary, which I understand is justified. And we hired, I'd say, about 90% of the people out of a position of compassion. And then when that season of sponsored finances went out, which was long, it was like a good 3 years. It was incredible. they weren't just summarily fired and thrown to the wind. They got little packages and everything was explained, and that was that. And then some of them who we'd hired out of, actually every person that we'd hired out of compassion, tried to sue us. And I was on a call with a brother in Christ, not a minister, just a friend, and he said, "Doesn't it bug you that people do stuff like that?" And I said, "Well, it takes about 3 years for you to till the soil and prepare it, and then plant. Then the wheat grows season 1, and you have a look, and you see there's wheat and chaff, and it grows season 2, you have a look, it grows wheat and chaff, and you see season 3. Now season 3, you're starting to know the difference a bit better. And God usually moves in these 3-year seasons, usually 1,000 days or so, to train you and prepare you and help you understand what the nature is of those who are under the sway of the God of this world, because some of them who actually want to see the kingdom grow, they'll stick around and help you because they would literally do it for free anyway. And, in that season, God showed me, hey, look, see, you're not the only one. Not that I ever thought I was the only one, but you do feel a little sorry for yourself after seasons and seasons of throwing heart and soul at something, different projects in the kingdom of God, and seeing just how crazy and vicious people can be. And in that season, I saw, goodness, there's a lot of people who are not actually in this world, like Tani V over here. It's Vanessa in the chat, they'll keep coming. There's many on this property who volunteer and stuff who just keep going. They just keep working. They go through the suffering they have to, because to them the kingdom comes first, because they're not of this world. They think like you and they've got the same objectives, but then those who are full of this world are going to think that you're trying to manipulate people to your own means, and they just say terrible, terrible things, and they accuse you of theft, and also, it's just crazy. Climb on social media and they climb into you, and those are the fiery darts. Some of you have had working relationships, and then people will twist your words, and and then you just see the whole sky full of fiery darts of false accusation. You find that you have to defend yourself. And the shield of faith is the ability to not defend yourself. You just put it up, quench all the fiery darts, and trust that God will defend you. I don't think I've ever been able to explain myself out of a hole that narcissist put me in. Back myself out of a corner when my words have been so twisted that that I'm like, I did say that, but not like that. It's probably the thing I've said the most in a lot of relationships with strong and powerful people, because I think in my early 20s I came to a place where I realized that you cannot defend yourself or explain yourself, or because it's not what they're interested in. They don't want to hear your innocence proven. They want to hear their assumptions proven, their accusations proven, because they are of this world and you are not. So where you want peace, they want to be right. And so they launch these terrible arrows consistently, and what happens is you just stop trying. You don't want to go and help at church anymore. You don't want to be involved in the feeding scheme because you can't even go there without that bunch gossiping and saying terrible things about you. You can't even wear a nice outfit like a lady, one lady in a button-up shirt can look completely different to another lady in a button-up shirt, and then all the gossips like climbing there, look at her throwing her body around, and then you're like, bro, it's just a shirt. You know exactly what you're doing, like they make those things. They just continuously labeling you with whatever foul and disgusting thing they assume you are full of. They keep putting stickers on you, and those are the fiery darts. And the joy of the shield of faith is you just lift that thing up and you just don't respond. And they say, I knew it. But something incredible happens is either they lose their target because there's no more fun picking on you, or God will send a champion to throw that Jezebel out of the window for you. So once upon a time, there was a prophet called Elijah, and he was very, very powerful. And he went into a nation where prophets of Baal were just controlling the people, and terrible things were going on there. Child sacrifice and all sorts of nastiness on behalf of a very manipulative entity working through a woman called Jezebel, who most unfortunately became the namesake for that scenario. And he was powerful enough, this prophet, to call down fire from heaven in front of all these prophets of Baal and have them all murdered. So they're basically like, it's like going into a nation, proving all the priests wrong, and then having them all killed, of whatever God they serve. So Elijah didn't play around. He was like, these are bad guys. Let's get rid of them. Like they're bombing the hell out of Iran's hierarchy up there. Basically, he did that in one night with a pillar of fire from heaven, and then just had all the people climb into those prophets of Baal. So hopefully we'll see that in Iran, where the people are just given the freedom to take over their own country again and throw out those disgusting prophets, false prophets that control and kill and destroy. But he was powerful enough to do that. And then there was a woman called Jezebel who was like, who's this guy? Let's kill him. And then he had to run. So Elijah ran away, and he discipled Elisha. And Elisha was like, I see Jezebel's still a problem there. And he picked up his banana phone, because it was that far back. There was still the banana phone. You guys remember the banana phone? And he phoned a dude called Jehu, and he said, bro, I hear you got no chill. And then Jehu was summoned to go and deal with that Jezebel. I mean, that Jehu was such a vicious dude that Jezebel sends out a messenger, just a messenger, to say, hey, are you guys, what you guys doing here? Are you attacking us? Are you friends? Are you foes? And Jehu insults him and tells him, run, Forrest, and then pegs him with the arrow while he's running away. And then schmaltzes through that kingdom, goes into Jezebel's house, and sits downstairs and eats her food while her own servants throw her out the window to her death in the courtyard below, where she's eaten by her own dogs. Now, if you stay behind your shield of faith, you will see how the God of this world's children eat each other up, because You are not unique in being the person whose words they're twisting, who they're insulting. Literally everybody around those people are waiting for a chance to throw them out of a window. Even their own pets are waiting for a chance when they're defenseless to eat them. Because the God of this world is hateful and he's hated. And his servants are hateful and they're hated. See, as believers, we show grace and mercy and we forgive, but they're surrounded by people who are not so forgiving. And you don't want to get involved in their business. You don't want to get involved in their fights. You don't want to take them on. Because like I shared last night, we're peacemakers. Till the last possible moment where our families are in danger and we have to go to war, we're peacemakers. But until that point, you have to learn and pray for the wisdom of understanding to know that we don't fight fire with fire. That's the way of this world. We're not from here. So you take up the shield of faith, believing that God will prepare a table in the presence of his enemies. So you'll be sitting there chowing in the presence of your enemies. God will do it. He will prepare for you a table in the presence of your enemies. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. None who rise up against you will stand. And the Spirit of the Lord himself will raise up a standard. It's like a banner on top of a wall. So it just signifies like massive defense. And the only damage that you have to mitigate is what was said to you, what was done to you. But if you survived it, you can outgrow it. And I want you to write it down. If I survived it, I can outgrow it. You won't need inner healing because you'll be filled with inner peace, inner joy, inner resolve. And so when you lift up that shield of faith, you're lifting up something that quenches every accusation. So, that 3.5, 4 years ago, I was praying. I said, okay, well, what you want me to do, your Lord? And he said, roll over and show your belly and look like you're dead. Don't do anything to look like you're strong. I'll deal with these people. I'll deal with everything. You just roll over. I'll send you everybody who I need in my vision, in his vision as God. And so I said, well, told the team, put a big for sale sign up on the property, stop doing big loud events, all that kind of thing. And then on social media, I did posts about how bad I am, and I phoned every single minister that I had a relationship with and said, I'm guilty of everything I'm accused of, everything my staff is accused of. Back then one of the things we were accused of was misappropriation of funds, which was true. We were taking money that was meant for buildings and feeding the poor and helping with salaries and, I was begging God to get us away from stipulated funding models where people will give you money and make demands out of context when if you know your brother is hungry and you don't feed him, you've basically not fed Jesus. And so I would tell people, listen, we can keep raising funds for buildings. Buildings can stand for a long time. We can finish them when they need to be finished. But that person is hungry now. And that could be Jesus right now. And so I denied nothing, showed my belly, rolled over, and the attack stopped immediately. Every single fiery dart was quenched. And then I was given a strategy for building games and stuff, and I went from, it was very, very, very difficult, even with lots of money coming in. because, when there's volunteers, they're volunteering and doing stuff proactively. When there's employees, they're trying to do as little as possible on average, to just earn that salary. And then they're gossiping, and it's not the environment you want. And people set up all sorts of whatever it's trying to think now, the kring van die spotters, I don't know what that is in English. Council of mockers. So they say things like, well, I wouldn't do it that way. So they'll say terrible things about you, trying to sound wise and kind instead of supporting you 100%, getting behind you, and building what's being built. So people stop being grateful and they just stop to attack you. And my instruction was just show your belly. And so I said, Lord, are you going to give me the strength, because my enemies are going to mock me? And God said, I need your enemies to mock you for a season, because then they'll leave you alone. They'll go and choose new targets. And so I submitted. And though the financial part's very, very stressful, I'm having a lot of fun. And even in the midst of turmoil, I have peace. And, I even see my wife having peace in the middle of utter financial madness. More peace than she had when there was money. So I see, okay, God knows how to train us. He knows how to prepare us. He knows how to produce heaven within us, because we are not of this place and we can't act like this place. We can't be bosses and lord it over people. And, we have to do things in a heavenly manner. You can hold people, you can give them responsibilities and then weigh those responsibilities. But often when people use terms like accountability, it's just another word for control. You have to be accountable to us. And then you say, but God has told us not to scale down, not to back down. We just got to keep going. And then they say, well, I wouldn't do it that way. And then when, your plans don't turn out like you think God wanted them, not that I really care. I just focus on the instruction, not the outcome. I'm not an outcome-driven person. I'm an instruction-driven person, because when I believed in outcomes and focused in outcomes, I was a tyrant, because I always let my drive whip the people who were under my care, hundreds and hundreds of leaders, thousands, whatever, and I would demand results, and then I would justify my temper and my insults and the darts that came out of me, instead of just trusting in the instructions that God gives me. So if God says build the games, I get stuck in. I know I'm the right guy for it. He's trained me up for it my whole life. I've got peace that it's going to produce all the funding we need without any stipulations, manipulations, any accusations. It's just ours, and we can help whoever we want to. As part of that funding, don't help those people and don't help those people and don't give those people money. And I was like, what? I can't do that. I bless my enemies. I'm kind to those who mistreat me. What happens to them next is up to God. Because I've learned to walk with the shield of faith. And you'll hear I talk about this stuff effortlessly, because it's not that I don't care. what you think of me because I love you, and your thoughts about me are important, especially people around me. But I have got more faith in my submission to the instruction to lift up the shield of faith than I do in your ability to not be influenced by the God of this world. So if I just continue to love, as much as I possibly can, and I continue to lift up that shield of faith, if God needs to send a Jehu to deal with a Jezebel, he'll send them. And that's why I often counsel people who've got a problem with somebody else or a minister. I say, dude, you got to stop pursuing that person, because God is going to send a Jehu, and you're not going to enjoy the results. Just because you won round one against the prophet doesn't mean that you've won any rounds against God. So I'm not interested in saying terrible things about great people. If you tell me, yeah, but you have to expose the wicked. No, that's the Holy Spirit's job. He convicts the of sin, righteousness, and judgment, and he's got an entire system for that. Yeah, sorry, I just walked through a bush, and I don't know, it's strange that there's spider webs in winter. Need to have a look. Or maybe it's my hair that came out of my beanie. I'm so used to in summer I walk and I'm just full of spider webs and things crawling on me. It's like in the prayer path at night in summer. Winter, the nice thing is there are no ticks or mosquitoes or spiders. Anyway, so if you know where you are, right? So you're on earth, and this is where the God of this world has incredible authority. The main narcissist is in control. Then nobody gets away with anything, not even people who are, inverted commas, innocent in this world, because they're in this world, and you, in using the shield of faith to quench all the fiery darts, instead of responding back and insulting people and saying terrible things and confronting them, and my friend Pastor Charles, his wife Henny, said, no, you mustn't confront people, you must carefront them, Now, these are boomers, and, their carefrontation can be very painful, but it's still a nice statement, don't confront people, carefront them. And, I heard someone once ministering, and he said, you don't rebuke. Well, he said it about children, and then I realized it was about everybody. You don't rebuke someone for the sake of emotional release. You rebuke them for the sake of their own future, which means you'll have a different conversation with them if it's, from that position, from behind that shield. So you lift up that shield of faith. It quenches all these fiery darts, and you use legal mechanisms if you need to, but you don't get into mud fights and gossip and saying terrible things about people, because that's not how people in the kingdom operate. See, the sword of the Spirit, which we'll still discuss one of these nights, is our offensive weapon, and even that thing doesn't attack people, it attacks knowledge. That thing's so sharp it can divide soul and spirit, It's a double-edged flaming sword, and it can rightfully divide information, wisdom from nonsense. So we don't even use our offensive weaponry to climb into the mud bath with these denizens of this world, because you're not of this place. You have to figure out where you're from. You're a heavenly citizen, and we operate completely differently. And we genuinely operate differently. We genuinely show grace and mercy and forgive. We don't do it passive-aggressively. We don't do it narcissistically with a gaslighting edge, with the goal of looking good to destroy someone. I don't present myself as blameless with the intent of proving someone wrong. I'm only focused on the advance of the kingdom. I don't want to get into arguments and spats with people from that kingdom. That kingdom has got a whole other way of doing things, and I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in any of it. I'm interested in name-calling and insults, being involved in, building in crypto Twitter. I mean, I hate the crypto world. It's literally 90% dogs and jackals and wild dogs, like flipping vultures and every scammery, disgusting thing you can imagine. It's Sodom. They like the biggest NFT collections that are worth the most money are pictures that represent the worst of man. There's something called the gods, and if you look at it, you'll see that guy looks like he belongs in prison. They've got the apes, and they're all drenched in corrupt and vulgar things, like the whole nature of that world is filthy. And I consistently have to curate my timeline because the people of that world, I mean, they are a physical manifestation of the spirit of mammon. It's incredible. I mean, I've learned so much these past 3 years just looking and being in that world, but not of that world, at how utterly vicious and selfish. I mean, a group of them will get together, lie about something on timelines so that lots of other people will invest into it, and then they'll withdraw all that money, everybody's investments, and then they will laugh about it. And they gave it a playful term. They call it PvP, player versus player. And then they just destroy lives. It's kind of like someone on purpose. It's the difference between setting up a business, the thing doesn't work out, at least you tried. It's terrible impact on people, but you can try again, and then you build businesses, something we counsel businessmen to do, and you consistently pray for that Gideon moment where you do so well financially that you can pay back everybody who ever lost money investing in you and more. You can do a lot more for them than they ever expected. But these guys, they are so vicious that they will, on purpose, set up these, and it's like a business, except you can set up a fake business in crypto in seconds, launch a fake token, create buzz. They're called alpha groups, with like 1,000 or 2,000 evil scheming dogs in those groups, create this fake excitement about a coin. Lots of people buy into the coin, driven by need, greed, or inquisitivity, and then dump it. And then these guys walk away with hundreds and thousands and millions sometimes of dollars that they've stolen, and then they just launch another one under a different name, do it again. So the difference between that world and the one we're in is intention. And sometimes you might mean well and bring hell, but at least you meant well, which means there's a redemption arc for you, because you destroyed for lack of knowledge, not for, hey, come, sorry, dogs are between my legs here. You destroyed for lack of knowledge, not for having a Jezebel spirit, So you're not of that world. Don't get engaged in that world. I don't even comment on their social media stuff. I just block them, get out of there. Not interested. I don't want to have anything to do with any of them. We even had someone in our own circle of high rank who, without us knowing it, was doing stuff like that and trying to do it in our community, and he didn't get to do it on a large scale. We just caught him before he could do any serious damage. And then lovingly just moved him to the side. Because you can't stop them from getting out there and doing stuff the way the world does it, because it's not illegal. But I'm excited about, the AI, many ways, especially when it starts being able to do deep shadow forensic audits, tracks the money, finds people no matter where they're hiding, cracks all those VPNs and stuff. In the world being prepared for the Antichrist, no one will be invisible anymore in the future, because time will come where you have to take the mark of the beast, convert to Islam, or you will die. No one's investing more money in devious AI than Islam. All the hacking and stuff, that's part of that religion, When you track down most of the hackery going on stuff, it leads to not even militant Islamic communities. It's just the nature of that culture. They are good and peaceful and kind people there, but they're in a belief system that is there to destroy the West. It's Ishmael versus Isaac. All of history folds around that, and you don't want to be involved in that, because you want to be like Jesus, who comes, looks at the world and looks at Israel and says, you guys, the shepherd is amongst you and you can't even see me. But he doesn't condemn them, they condemn themselves. They say, because Israel, that the church of that time that crucified Jesus, and they themselves said, let this curse be upon us and upon our children. So there's this perpetual war on earth until the return of Christ, where those of Israel who converted to follow the ideology of Christ and not the ideologies of this world, not follow the God of this world, that conversion over there, those are the ones that will reign. They're my people. And us who accept Jesus as our rabbi, because Jesus is a Jew and he's a rabbi and he's the Son of God, and we accept his teaching, his yoke, which is a brand new teaching. It's not a Jewish teaching, and it's not it's not just a empty philosophy. It is actually the total belief system of heaven, and it is not interested in the things of this world. It's like, I'm building a kingdom, I'm going to use you guys, and that kingdom is going to be a kingdom of righteousness and peace and joy in the Holy Ghost. You're not going to murder each other, you're not going to accuse each other, you're not going to say terrible things to each other and terrible things about each other. And then Paul the Apostle says, here's how you defend yourself against people who have come into your midst and are immature. You don't use a sword to hurt them, Book of James, it says the tongue is like a rudder. It's like a rudder, it steers an entire ship. So now when you speak, you guide your ship to the kingdom of heaven, and you use that shield to quench the fiery darts, and you don't get involved in what all these other crazy people are doing. When a believer is political, it's great that they stand up for who they believe in and what that person stands for that they like. But the moment a believer starts ripping into opposition political parties, they operate by the spirit of this world. So you mustn't take part in that stuff. You mustn't clothe yourself with the ways and habits of this world. You must put on the armor of God. That's what makes us stand out. We are people of peace, which doesn't mean we're weak, just means that's our priority. We don't intentionally look to steal and kill and destroy and subjugate and all the other terrible things. We're people of peace. That breastplate of righteousness is, we protect our hearts by becoming selfless and generous and not expecting anything from anyone in return for the good works that we do. I'll go into the other bits and bobs in the week to come, in the weeks to come. But our shield is not an offensive weapon. Sorry, I just got to sneeze, I think. Sorry. In a lot of movies, you see a shield being used as an offensive weapon. Ours isn't. It just quenches all those fiery darts because we believe that God has got our back. He'll fight for us. And that, I think, was a good wisdom session. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Was it a bunch of book, or did you get something? My dogs have disappeared into the darkness. As usual, if you're enjoying this, every day is a collectible card. If you've grabbed some packs at onlybelievegame.com, you should be seeing things appearing either in your loadout in the Only Believe. It will be in the OSP game wallet loadout for now. Should be seeing things appear that you can play with every day. If not, go to onlybelievegame.com and support us there and go and get your cards every day. And say, what game is this where it costs $1 per thing that you play with? We're building the kingdom, so this is how we raise funds to build the games, because we want to do it all for free, right? So, kind of a pay it forward kingdom investment, you can see it that way. And it makes it possible. And those of you who are consistently praying for us, I think until the game release on the 25th of September, we're trying to move faster than that. But till that point, we need a lot of help financially to keep these lights on. And I'm walking around outside here because we've put the internet on the altar in favor of the electricity, which is wise always. And electricity is very important. It's thousands of dollars every month because so many awesome things happen here. So help if you can, support the game if you can, and keep praying for us. Hope you're enjoying the 77 days. When internet is sorted out, we'll also have a post-stream show, and we'll have a couple of pastors, ministers, whatever, jump on stage, convince Pastor Ned, maybe some of the other ministers to jump on the stream stage and then discuss, the subject of the day. I think that might be fun. So you can't get enough word. But just remember, you're not of this world. You're not crazy when you think that you're an alien here. The way these people talk and act and say things about each other. I'm not even talking about profanity. I'm talking about just the nasty, terrible things people say to each other, about each other, the tone of voice they use. Can't talk to a waitress properly. Can't talk to a petrol attendant properly. Just always rude, and you can't talk to your own family properly. Can't talk to people who love you properly. You're not an alien when you feel you don't fit, because you don't. You're not supposed to fit here. You're passing through. Your job is to be an example of what they have to be, and be the only heaven that they'll ever see, so that when they do stand before judgment, they're without excuse. So don't be the excuse that someone can say, oh, well, that person said they were a Christian, or a follower of Christ, but look how they talk and act, and and they hurt me, and they did this and that. You're the one that God says, hey, listen, I put that person in your life. They were kind to you even though you were horrible. And they told you many, many times how you should act, how you should be, and what you can't do, what you can do. You heard it from really good people. So if you won't listen to them, you definitely won't listen to me, because God is very severe, Anyway, so you're not crazy. You're just passing through this world. You're in this world. You're not of this world. And you use your shield of faith. Quench those fiery darts. Just let them go splash. Go psst. Don't pull out your own bow. We don't have a bow in the armor of God. Don't start firing your own fiery darts at people. Love you all dearly. Le toodles.